Hey, look at this place. It's a mess. There's just stuff piled in here everywhere. How am I supposed to have Pete's walk-in music closet with this kind of a setup? I mean, all this stuff needs to have a proper home and a proper place. Alright, give me a couple of weeks to see what I can do to get this place all set up. Yeah. Welcome to episode 12 of Music is a Journey. This is the 12th month, this is the 12th episode, so today I want to introduce 12 albums by 12 different artists. But first, let's cue the music.
Tell me, cloud, about the sun. Are you too ashamed of what's become? Nothing of integrity or truth. Everyone can see, but there's no proof.
At the beginning of this particular episode, we saw a little bit of early scenes at the very beginnings of Music is a Journey. And because this is the last episode for this year, and the 12th episode, I thought I'd give a little bit of background information about this video series. A couple of years ago, I was supposed to go off for a TV program somewhere in the mountains of Japan, and my camera suddenly started behaving strangely. There wasn't enough time to take it in for repairs, so I thought I've always wanted to upgrade, and maybe now's a good chance. So I bought a new digital camera, and this one actually came with a video feature. At the time I thought, well, that's great, but I have no intention of making videos. However, last year, 2017, I started to play around with it a little bit. And then, near the end of the year, well, let's say around autumn, I started to watch some videos on YouTube, people presenting about music, talking about music of the 70s, of the 80s, and so on. And I became inspired to make my own video. Now this is singular, because I had a friend, the late Colin Tench, whose album you see over here, Minor Masterpiece. This was due for release later in the year, that's 2017. And I thought, wouldn't it be neat if I made a video talking about his career history, the different albums he's appeared on, different artists he's worked with, Corvus Stone, Colin Tench Project. And so I started to think about how I would do that. And then I thought, what else can I do with that? Could I make more videos? Could I also talk about different things that I know about in music? And so that's where all that started. And originally I was planning on using this walk-in closet here. Well, as you can see in the opening video clip, and as I just showed you now, there's a lot of stuff in there. And I wasn't able to organize it into a nice, neat little presentation room as I had in mind. So I thought about other things I could do. And one idea was that I could do my recordings where I work on Fridays, because I stay there late and nobody else is there. I could use that.
Hi, I'm Metal Pulverizer Pete. Just call me Pete. And today we're doing a test here. We are going to talk about this mixed CD that I made.
So I did a little test, and, well, it was just a test. I gave up on that idea. And then I got the idea, maybe I could set up this corner here. Good day, folks. I'm Pete, and this is my music corner. And so basically that's how all this came to be. I decided on a list of different topics, a few dozen actually, and so far I've just been introducing different artists and their albums, but I plan to do a lot more with that. Anyway, this is where it is. This is where Music is a Journey is. It's not Pete's Music Corner. I decided to go with the same name I use for my music blog, and I even made a kind of test pilot episode before I ever even did the Colin Tench one.
However, in the 1990s, people started looking at the CD and saying, you know what, we've got all this extra space that we're not using. Why not try to boost things up a bit?
And so there we started earlier this year in the spring. Colin Tench was the episode 1 topic, and we've been moving on since then. So, I have 12 albums to introduce today, and I'm not going to yatter on for a long time about each of them. So let's get started with our first artist, Babal. We actually talked about Babal earlier this year in episode 7 when we featured the Circle of Confusion of Lark's Tongues in Aspic. Wait a minute, how did King Crimson get in there? Sorry, the Circle of Confusion of Tongues, and we played a few clips from this album. Since then, Babal have gone on to release a new EP. This is called The Glacier. It was just released a couple of months back, September, October. It is an EP, it is just under 30 minutes. It has only 3 tracks, but obviously for just under 30 minutes, they've got a fair bit of music on there. Now this EP is also a step towards, or actually part of, a trilogy, starting with the Circle of Confusion of Tongues. The Glacier is the next step, and just the other day, Karen Langley and Rob Williams mentioned on Facebook that they are putting together probably another EP, so I guess the 2 EPs will make part 2 of the trilogy together, and then they're looking at a full-length album for later in 2019. Now, I really loved the lyrics here for the title track, The Glacier, and I just want to read the opening lyrics before I play a clip from that song. The very first lyrics go, "It is the awful comfort of mundane living that kills the spirit. The adrenaline that is needed to take you from tick to talk to tick to talk is tucked away carefully in a trench of utter lassitude." Wow, that certainly beats I Like Big Butts when it comes to lyric writing. So, fantastic. I will now play a clip from The Glacier. Before I do that though, I want to mention, I also ordered a very limited edition here, Hanging in the Balance, another EP, and then their older album, Bread and Circuses, when the band's name was still spelled B-A-B-B-L-E. Both of these I only just got recently, so I haven't totally given them my opinion yet, but anyway, that's fine. And as a bonus, I got this Babal Present Bread and Circuses DVD. So, I think I'm going to do a Babal episode next year. But for now, let's get on with The Glacier.
It is the awful comfort of mundane living that kills the spirit. Dead right there before you. The adrenaline that is needed to take you from tick to talk to tick to talk is tucked away carefully in a safe trench of utter lassitude.
The next artist I'd like to feature is Joe Deninzon Stratospheerius. Now, Joe was born in Russia, and he plays hard rock, blues rock, rock. But the one thing that's different is that he plays it with a violin. And in fact, there's a photo of him playing it with a rather custom-made violin. Pretty darn cool stuff. He has 4 albums out so far, 3 with Stratospheerius, and this one here, Guilty of Innocence, was released earlier in 2018. What caught my attention was I was looking at the Melodic Revolution Records website for some t-shirts, and then I saw this one here, and I thought, you know, after looking at album covers for metal bands, which I thought were inappropriate to wear at kindergartens, a little bit too scary, this one here would be a perfect t-shirt to get. to wear at a kindergarten. I mean, it looks like a children's book cover. It's great. Anyway, that drew my attention to Joe, and I'd heard of him. I even think we were connected on Facebook somehow, and I decided to just blindly go ahead and order his album and listen to it, and I was immediately impressed. What I thought about after listening to it a couple of times is that in the late 1980s you had some guitarists like Yngwie Malmsteen who took inspiration from like Niccolò Paganini, different famous violinists, and they thought, especially Yngwie said, I want to be able to play guitar like Paganini plays violin. Well, now here we actually have a violinist who plays violin like a violinist, but does it to rock music. So now let's give a listen to some fabulous performance by Joe Deninzon in the song Hysteria. Earlier this year, I ordered a couple of CDs directly through Phil Narrow, the vocalist whom we talked about before, and one of the CDs never reached me. So I emailed him and he resent it, and he also added in this CD here, Simply They Calendar. This was just released this year. I had no idea who it was, or what it was. Phil Narrow is of course the lead vocalist, but it is a beautiful album, essentially melodic rock, melodic hard rock, but with a lot of other stuff in there, acoustics and so on. And we also have the addition of Tamar Ilana's vocals, beautiful female vocalist, adding great charm to this. Simply They is a band put together by Derek Bielinik, who originally came to Canada from Europe about 20 years ago with a stopover in the UK, where he stayed for a couple of years doing session work as a bass player. When he came to Canada, he got himself involved in different bands, but nothing ever really took off, and he became a little frustrated with the lack of success, and I think he left the music scene for a little while. However, in 2009, he met up with drummer Bertil Schulreb, if I have it correctly. They had been friends from before, and they decided to seriously begin working on a band together. The band was originally known as One They, and they put together more musicians, built up a band, got Phil Narrow in, and began work over 8 years on putting together this album. Somewhere along the way, the band name changed to Simply They, and their first release Calendar, as I said, came out earlier this year. According to Derek, they are going to begin production on a second album starting early in 2019. As I said, it's a variety of sounds, but all tied together cohesively in beautiful melodic rock with some hard rock and other stuff. So I would really like to feature now part of a song called Bullfight, which features some beautiful acoustic guitar and, of course, Tamar's vocals. So let's listen to a little bit from Bullfight. Earlier this year, when I did episode 6, we talked about Sean Timms and two of the bands that he's performing in now, Damonic and Southern Empire. At that time, Southern Empire's next album was due to be released shortly, and here it is now, Southern Empire's Civilization. It is a 4-song album, but it is a full-length album, as none of the songs are shorter than 10 minutes. Maybe Goliath's Moon is, but the other ones 10 minutes, 19 minutes, 29 minutes. Full-on progressive rock album mixing modern types of more mainstream type melodies as well as very complex and very beautiful music, many different sounds and styles. Great stuff on here. Southern Empire just completed a tour in Europe with Dominic. They toured in Western European countries as well as the UK. They also toured in Germany with Seven Steps to the Green Door. So that is 3 fantastic bands together on one bill. And apparently the tour was very successful. They are now back home in Australia again. Alright, so now let's just listen to this one part in the final track, Innocence and Fortune. It is a beautiful bit with piano, and again accompanied by acoustic guitar and the rest of the band. And I played this clip for a woman I know who loves opera and classical music and is not really hot about rock music. And I played that part for her and she was like, "But this isn't rock." I said, "It's progressive rock." She says, "But this is really good music," she said. So now I want to share that clip with you as well. Let's listen to this clip from Innocence and Fortune. The next artist I'd like to feature is called Modern Rock Ensemble, and the man behind it is Vladimir Goroshenko. He's from the Ukraine. He's been involved in the music scene at least since the 1980s. And according one track on the back here is called Swamp. It's recorded from a jazz festival in 1989. So presumably Modern Rock Ensemble have been around at least since that time. Touch the Mystery was released in 2016, so unlike other albums which were 2018 releases, this is a bit older. It is the introduction to the world of Modern Rock Ensemble, and as I see it, it is not exactly a full, proper album. The tracks include Meditations, which is over 11 minutes, and Touch the Mystery, the title track, just under 20 minutes, and these are full-on symphonic prog type songs. Then there are 2 shorter instrumentals, What Will Happen to My Country and My Angels, dedicated to my wife and daughter, which are just keyboard instrumentals. After that, there's the live recording from 1989, Swamp, and Meditations in Russian, which to me sound like bonus tracks. So it's not exactly a complete album, it's more like a long EP with bonus tracks. However, Vladimir Goroshenko is working on the next album, and the exciting news is that he is working on it with Sean Timms of Southern Empire. So they actually met up in Germany at one of Southern Empire's performances. I think that's pretty cool. So we will definitely be looking forward to that, and you can bet when that comes out I will be introducing it in 2019. Alright, so now I'd like to play just a short clip from Meditations. So please enjoy music from the Ukraine.
A starflesh's gloom expectation, expecting the call of salvation by abyss or heaven.
Working together with Vladimir is guitarist Max Velichko, also of the Ukraine, and he has his own band called Inside the Sound. They released an album back in 2010 called Time Z, and more recently, I think 2017, they came out with Wizard's Eyes. This is an album which reminds me of Steve Vai, but the only Steve Vai album I have is Passion and Warfare, and I feel this one here has a lot of those elements, but is a little more eased back and a little more focus on composition and basically putting the notes in the right places. It is not as showy or flashy or experimental, but it is a beautiful guitar album. So I would like to play a clip from that. First of all, I should mention, Max does play on Modern Rock Ensemble's Touch the Mystery. He is also going to play on the next one as well. So now let's give a little listen to something from Wizard's Eyes. This is To the Sky. I'd now like to feature an independent artist who has almost been described as an amateur because he is not professional. He is a professional teacher. However, he has always had an interest in music, playing music, composing music, and recording music. That artist is from Spain, and his name is Jesus Munoz. He released an album called Strategies, I think around 2015, originally as a virtual album. And then he went to a studio with a drummer and fixed it all up and then released it as a hard copy on CD. Was it 2016, 2017? 2016. Here it is. Jesus is inspired by the likes of Steve Hackett and Steve Howe, maybe Steve Howe especially. This is, as I said, his only album so far. He is now interested in working on a new album, slowly composing. But, of course, as he's doing this in his spare time, it's taking time. But anyway, it's a beautiful album, and I would like to play for you my favorite track on here. It's called The Limpid Green. Really uplifting track, so I would like to play a short clip from that one now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jesus Munoz. I'd now like to talk about a band whose name is a little difficult to pronounce. I think it is Rosenkreutz. Has the Danish U, so maybe Rosen and Kreutz. Anyway, they are a band not out of Denmark or Germany or Sweden or anywhere. They're out of Italy. This is a band put together by Fabio Serra, who was involved in a lot of music projects in the 1980s, playing in different bands. And in the 1990s, he teamed up with vocalist Alex Brunori, who was the vocalist of a band called Leviathan. They worked together on some recordings, but the two men lived quite far apart, and in the pre-music sharing days of the internet, they found it difficult to keep working on the project. The project was left aside until some years ago when Fabio Serra listened to them again and thought they really had potential. The two men met up, they rewrote a lot of the material, re-recorded it, put together a band, and came up with this album here, Back to the Stars. This is really a tremendous album. It combines a lot of the elements of classic 70s prog with a lot of modern sounds as well, which is something I think a lot of people are doing these days, but I think Rosenkreutz have gone and done it in their own way, which is really spectacular. They also do a terrific version of I Am the Walrus. There are a lot of great tracks on here, but I absolutely love the 17-minute, 32-second title track, Back to the Stars. It's a little bit like Supper's Ready, where there are many different parts strung together into one coherent song or track, and there's so many good parts, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit here and play two different sections from the title track, Back to the Stars. Rosenkreutz are putting together a new album which should be out early next year, so I'm looking forward to featuring that in a later episode. Okay, here we go, Back to the Stars. Just Maglev is our next artist to feature, and his band Maglev, which is essentially Just playing just about everything with some guests coming in. Just is essentially a bass player, and he has played in different bands. He's based in the Netherlands. During the early 2000s, he actually did his own stuff where he followed very closely the style of the Japanese musician Gackt, and in fact he followed the style so closely that a lot of people began to say it sounds like you're plagiarizing almost. So he decided to do a shift in his sound. Basically, it's more pop-oriented, but his album, Overwrite the Sin, is exactly a progressive rock album. There are 5 tracks on here, but they are all fairly long, around the 10-minute mark. And there is quite a variety of styles. We of course have some beautiful acoustic, almost troubadour style, also some fast rock and some more musical type theatrical stuff, and some more what you would usually expect from a modern day prog band. Anyway, this is Overwrite the Sin. He is now currently working on a second album, also due out early in 2019, and I am now making a list of bands who have albums out early in 2019 to feature in an upcoming episode. But for now, I would like to play for you a clip from my favorite track on here, Judith, which is quite a wild ride, and as I'm only going to put in 30 to 40 seconds, I can't feature the whole thing, but please enjoy this little clip from Maglev's song Judith from the album Overwrite the Sin. going to make a little bit of a confession here. In the last 12 episodes, I have been featuring basically progressive rock artists or progressive metal artists. However, even though I actually always loved progressive music since the beginning of my music interest days, I actually wasn't aware that what I liked was progressive rock, and I did not know about the progressive rock world until about 2011, and 2012 was the year I really jumped into it. And one of the names that came up was Phideaux. Now, I didn't know about Phideaux, but I checked out some of the music, and I thought it was good, but I didn't actually buy any albums, and I think it's because they were expensive to order. Anyway, a lot of talk was buzzing about among other musicians I know about his new album, Infernal. And so I thought, well, heck with it, I'm just going to go get this Infernal album. I ordered it, and I have been really impressed with what I've heard. Now, it is not overly technical, it is not overly flashy or showy. It is very, what can I say, creatively assembled music. Assembled? Created music. Initial thoughts, it reminded me of Pink Floyd's The Final Cut, or some albums by Arion, or even some albums by Nectar, like Remembering the Future. It seems that the instruments are used not because they have a band and they're going to make songs with all those musicians playing their instruments. Rather, the instruments are used as they are needed to create the songs, which means you may have drums or you may not. You may have electric guitar or possibly not. The keyboards may come in as piano or synthesizer or something else. Basically, it's like you have a collection of Lego pieces, and for this you want to make a boat, and for this you want to make a house, and you just need the pieces required to make those things. Does it make any sense? Alright, well anyway, I want to show you this because this is a really beautiful package. Opens up like this, and then inside you have both panels have a little booklet inside, and it's a double album, so there's a CD on each side. And basically, as a double album, this plays as a 4-sided LP. Side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. You can also see on the other side over here, we have the other booklet as well, and some beautiful artwork, which is inspired by Hieronymus Bosch and Salvador Dali. There we go, that's a lot of information. Now, the song, among many songs that I loved on here, the song that probably caught my attention the most so far is We Only Have Eyes for You. And as it turns out, there's a video for that song. So I'm not the only one who thought it was great. So now, with the permission of Phideaux, Xavier, I will play a clip from that. And I should also mention, aside from the fact that he already has several albums out, I want to also mention that he is a TV director and has directed some TV programs. You can look him up on Wikipedia and read about more about that. So let's get on now and feature a bit from We Only Have Eyes from You, from Phideaux's album 2018 release, Infernal.
Let me talk to him.
Another band I've come across over the years in my sifting through the sands of progressive rock is Frequency Drift. Frequency Drift is a band from Germany that was originally put together by Andreas Hack, a keyboard player, classically trained, and later on also included Nerissa Schwartz on electric harp. Classical keyboards, electric harp. We already have something here that sounds really interesting to me, and all their vocals are handled by female vocalists. Frequency Drift have released a few albums so far, all of which have received a lot of praise, and the latest one from this year is Letters Tomorrow. I had an interest in the band for a while, and so when this one came out and I noticed the album cover is actually photographed somewhere in Japan. That really made me think, okay, it's time to check out Frequency Drift, because now, you know, this is where I am. I'm in Japan, right? So, okay, let's hear what this band is like. And I really love this album. At first, I thought, okay, it's a little bit like Thieves' Kitchen, but also with a little bit of White Willow. But as I listened to it more, it took on a life of its own, and Frequency Drift's own unique sound came out. You have beautiful use of keyboards, again, not overly complex. Great sounds, sometimes sounding more like electric or electronic sounds. As well, you have frequent use of this electric harp, which I love, and just very beautifully composed music with their newest singer, newest vocalist, Irini Alexia. Sorry, I had to check my notes there. I really like what she's doing with her voice. She's singing as well as many other female vocalists do on prog albums, but she has this character that she puts into the characters that she's portraying when she sings. Several of the songs, if not all of them, are from the point of view of a female character, and she brings out that character's emotions in the different situations. I find that really is a kind of added bonus to listen to that. So among several great songs on here, I want to play a little bit from Neon, which features more of Frequency Drift's instrumental side. So now let's listen to something Neon, the song track Neon from Letters to Marrow, 2018 release. Oh, and I want to mention, this is on the label Gentle Art of Music. Nerissa Schwartz actually contacted Gentle Art of Music on my behalf to ask if we could feature some of the music for this video program. So I am very grateful to Gentle Art of Music and to Nerissa Schwartz and Frequency Drift for going out of their way to give me permission to feature music in this video. Now, let's listen to that music.
Tut ihr mit dem Feuer.
Wie tief wollt ihr noch graben? Mein Herz ist teuer Sold. Mein Gold könnt ihr nicht essen, auch wenn ihr wollt. Schließt endlich eure Augen, ihr habt doch schon entdeckt. Es gibt hier unten nichts, was nach Frieden schmeckt.
Okay, like the 12 Days of Christmas, we have counted down to the 12th album. This is the very recently released Monumento by German melodic progressive rock band KariBow. KariBow we talked about in episode 4. It was exclusively about KariBow, and we talked about how it is basically Oliver Rusing who plays drums, bass, keyboards, guitar, writes the songs, sings them, records, mixes, produces, everything. And then he has guests coming in to add additional vocals or instrumentation. This new album, Monumento, is a double album. The first album features is a typical KariBow album, a collection of beautiful melodic rock songs with additional parts added in, some extra stuff to elevate it above your standard melodic rock, making it more of a progressive album. And the second one is 2 long songs which are broken down into different tracks. And we just heard a clip from that at the beginning here when we were going to start talking about KariBow. It is an album that has attracted a lot of favorable reviews so far, and I am also really enjoying it, having it now to 6 releases in the KariBow collection. Anyway, I would like to play a clip from the first disc, Spirits on the Water, because this is the first song from that first disc that really caught my attention. So let's listen now to a clip from KariBow's Monumento.
She talks about distance and past. And she talks about power and trust.
When she reads me the book
And we got there, 12 albums, fantastic. Before I get to the end part, I want to mention Alberto Rigoni's Evo Revolution album with Marco Miniman on drums. This is a bass and drums album only, and I originally wanted to feature it in the 12, but I want to still mention it anyway. Bass and drums only, very interesting. Alberto Rigoni is also now in a band called Bad As, and they have, I think, released a new album, or are about to. Two things that just came in through the mailbox the other day before I started this recording. This is Progland's second full-length album, Harmony of the Universe, featuring Petri Lindstrom on bass, whom we talked about in episode 2. And also this one here, Flor de Loto. This is a Peruvian progressive folk metal band. I actually haven't listened to it yet, but these two are fresh off from Melodic Revolution Records. Ah, there we go. So anyway, just to draw your attention to these, I'm going to be checking these out from today, actually. Okay, as usual, a tremendously huge thank you to all the artists who gave me permission to use their music in the video. Sorry folks, everybody just got a short feature, but I hope it does something to draw attention to your music. And once again, Frequency Drift, thank you for asking your label on my behalf. That's it. That's it for episode 12. That's it for the videos I'm going to make for this year, 2018. I have, I think, about 22 subscribers so far. Thank you to those 22 subscribers. And next year I'm going to be shooting for 10,000, so help me reach that goal. Yeah, anyway. Okay, everybody have a safe holiday, have a great New Year's, and I will be dumping out more videos at you from the new year. Hopefully you'll be watching. Thank you, and season's greetings.
Running in the cables, they could be glowing in the phosphors, they could be riding on the waves in the air. Hiding in adapters, they could be reading in receivers, they could be glowing